Hello and welcome to Web Relates. Today we're looking at the Malicious Compliance subreddit. Our first story is a short one by C. Kayla. Be on time or not at all. I was a piano technician for a while. My boss lived in another town. He gave me crap a couple of times for being less than 5 minutes late after a 2-hour drive, yelling at me that if you can't be on time, then don't be on my clock, as some kind of a threat to my job. So I was scheduled to meet him at a client's house to move and tune a piano. I waited until exactly the time we were scheduled to meet, and then left. I had a booty call around the corner anyway, and that was great. Apparently he showed up a few minutes late and was pissed that I wasn't there. I told him later that I had been there, waited until the appointed time, and figured that the appointment had been called off since no one showed up by the scheduled start time, so I left. I found another profession, and I don't think the old fart learned a darn thing. Mac the Bearded has responded to that story. Had a similar thing once, years ago. Worked for a great company. Board fired the CEO out of nowhere and replaced him with a guy who was a former efficiency consultant. New guy only cared about metrics, was firing anyone who didn't toe the line, and the culture took a nosedive. One of the metrics that the new guy cared about was clock-in times, and it was a binary thing. On time, yes or no. We had multiple sets of badge-controlled doors to get through, and then a wall clock that often had a line in the mornings. So you often weren't right on time. You might have walked in the doors at 5:55 and clocked in at 6 minutes 27 seconds, when on time was no later than 6 o'clock. Was never a big deal until this guy made it one. I got crap from my supervisor a couple times for being literal seconds late. Boss man thought it was as dumb as I did, but his hands were tied or they'd cut him loose too. Said he'd have to write me up if it happened again. Cue the MC. I had well over 100 hours of paid time off saved up, and enough income that didn't hurt much to take unpaid time off either. So from then on, at least once every couple weeks, I'd get a surprise day off when I showed up and the line to get in looked iffy. I'd text my boss from the parking lot and tell him I just wouldn't be in that day. No explanation, not asking. Mr. Efficiency lost days of production every month over making a problem out of literal seconds, and I had a fairly critical role that had a measurable impact on product delivery. But hey, his metrics looked good, and I never got written up for being late. Our next story is by Brother Gatto. Yes, sir. I was at the army. I was a drill sergeant and trained some new recruits. I was fair, and not like one of those douchebags. I did everything I ordered them to do together with them, to show them how to lead. I liked it that way, and my squad also liked it, that I get dirty with them. So my standing in the company was quite good, and I was appreciated. After a couple of months, I had to switch companies, and a pretty young and fresh second lieutenant was my new leader. He was kind of the same age as me, but was full of discipline, and wanted to spread his knowledge. What you need to know, we all salute each other, but the other formalities were just needed and required when there were some official things to do. But not for this guy. He ordered me to be like a real soldier and salute every time I enter the room where he is and speak with him. How it should be, and be more respectful. Cue malicious compliance. Every bloody time I entered the room where he was, I put on all the military manners I got, and I have a lot of them. Saluted him and spoke only highly officially with him. Only short reports, yes sir, no sir, as you wish sir. And I continued this for days and weeks. Every other officer looked at him like, dude, are you serious? That you want it like that? And he became more and more embarrassed. He even told me, please, don't say yes sir no more, because we both know this means go F yourself. I just responded with, yes sir, anything else sir? And we both knew that I would continue this behavior. At the end, when I left there, all but him thanked me for what I did, and we all had a big laugh about it. But I think he did not appreciate his order, and will think twice in the future. For me, it was just him, and I like to show that I got respect and manners. It was a very funny time. Our next story is by Meowsasaurus. Mom splits hairs with nanny to save a few dollars, and ends up back paying hundreds. Karen and Ken are wealthy and extremely stingy. Their kid is Bob. Henry is an extremely sweet, generous single dad who lost his husband a few years ago and dotes on his kid, Steve. I have been a nanny for several years now, and for the most part, I've worked with lovely, reasonable families. I have contracts for every family that guarantees the hours that I work, meaning if a family goes on vacation, I still get paid because I'm technically available to work, but they chose not to use my services. Think gym membership where you pay regardless of whether you've been to the gym in a month. This is standard in nanny contracts. Another bit on my contract is called the nanny share. So if two of the families want to combine for the day, each of them pays 2/3 of my regular pay rate. I get paid a little more for watching more kids, and they save a little, only paying a portion of what they would have paid. Karen and Ken's family went to Hawaii 3 weeks ago, and per my contract, I was to be paid as usual. Before they left, they asked if I could come in and watch Bob the Sunday after they returned, so that they could recover and rest. I agreed, and my hours were set at 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. that Sunday. They went on the trip, everything was wonderful, and they texted me when they landed, saying they would see me at 8 a.m. The next day, when I was about to head out the door at 7:30 a.m., I received a text saying that Bob was just waking up, so I should show up at 8:30 instead. After the day of nannying, Karen asked if I would stay past my regular hours during the upcoming week so that they could have 2 date nights. I agreed, and Karen said that she would reimburse me for all the extra hours at the end of the week, since it'd be easier just to make one payment. Totally fine with me. The week finished, and I ended up staying an extra 8 hours total for the 2 date nights. I asked Ken to pay me for 16 hours, but he said he had to talk to Karen first to double check hours, and would pay me shortly. When I got home, I received a text from Karen saying, "Hi Meowsaurus, thank you so much for covering for us these past few weeks. Ken and I are feeling refreshed, and the show was hilarious. Since we were in Hawaii, you were paid for an entire week while you weren't working. We don't think this is quite fair, as it is a large sum of money, so we'd like to apply some of those hours to your babysitting today and yesterday. We'll pay you for 8 hours instead." I was furious. I screenshotted the part of my contract that plainly stated I would be paid for any hours that their family was on vacation, and I reminded her that it was in violation of contract. She reluctantly agreed, and I texted there would be a total of 16 hours. Karen instantly replied and went off, texting, "On Sunday we asked you to come in at 8:30, not 8. We are already being generous and paying you for the holiday we took. We expect you to track your hours better next time. This is unacceptable. You need to be as accurate as possible with the hours that we are paying you. We will pay you for 15.5 hours." Readers, this was a difference of $12.50. I was going to screenshot the part of my contract that said any rescheduling needed a 24-hour notice. But instead I went nuclear. Bob has been tagging along with Steve and me to music class and soccer twice a week, outside of Karen's regular contracted hours, since January. Karen has never offered to pay for those hours, but Henry was fine with paying his full rate for those hours because Steve was having trouble making friends at school and had become close to Bob. I chose not to say anything about the slight bump in pay because I loved watching them play together. Malicious compliance time. As Karen stated, I needed to be as accurate as possible. I calculated all the hours that Bob has joined us since January, 6 hours a week times 18 weeks, and the total amount they owed me was almost $2,000. In the group chat with Karen, Ken, and Henry, I said, Karen stated that it was of utmost importance that I track the hours as accurately as possible, so I took it upon myself to double-check everything, including the share hours. Thank goodness I did. I didn't realize we had forgotten to track all the hours that Bob joined us for soccer and music. Henry, I'm so sorry. Karen actually owes you quite a bit of money. If my calculations are correct, they owe you X dollars to you and to me. Henry replied, Karen and Ken, I am so disappointed to hear that Meowsaurus hasn't been compensated properly this entire time. I don't need my hours to be refunded for those hours, because I wanted Steve to continue his playdates. But you need to pay Meowsaurus's portion immediately. I got a huge chunk of money I wasn't expecting, and I am now on the hunt for my next nanny family. I'll be putting my 2 weeks notice with Karen and Ken as soon as I do. Alright, those are pretty good. Remember guys, always stick to your contracts. It's okay to lend a helping hand now and then, but just watch out for when they try to take the whole arm. That's it for today guys. If you liked what you saw, please like and subscribe to the channel, I really appreciate it. Until then, have a great day, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.